Okay, so this is what I have, the craziness that I have turned this into. Perfect for the occasion, right?
I've been out of my head, can't get out of bed. Too much on my brain, but got it good, can't complain.
Okay, so there is the matter of the Queen's Jubilee, which is happening this weekend. And what they actually did in this country was they did a nationwide search for ordinary people to submit their recipes for the Queen's cake or whatever pudding that she'll be having. And so they did the nationwide search, and the lady that did the trifle won, which I just thought, but there was this other lady that had a really bright idea, which was a Four Nations cake. And what I thought she would do was probably essentially have 4 tiers of cake with each of the cakes coming from the 4 different nations, like whatever, Northern Ireland is known to make, whatever the Welsh are known to make. And she did start doing a Welsh cake, which I was like, oh, this is super, super promising. But then she started doing like, instead of a cake from each of the countries, she started being like, oh, let's take raspberries from Scotland and butter from Northern Ireland. And it started off as such a lovely idea, a winning idea, and then she just kind of screwed it up. So I thought I would pick up where she left off. We are going to do a Four Nations cake, so a specialty cake essentially from each of the UK countries. So Northern Ireland, we have Scotland, we have Wales, and then finally we have England. So for England, it is going to be a classic Victoria sponge. Victoria sponge, if you don't know what it is pretty much a yellow cake. At first I thought like, ooh, Victoria sponge, but it is just a yellow cake. So we'll be doing that. So the second cake, I guess, we have is from Northern Ireland. It's something called the 15s. I had never heard of this before, but essentially like you take marshmallows and glacé cherries and like sugar and you like kind of turn it into a cookie. I think it's more of like a biscuit, like a cookie. And then that's gonna be from Northern Ireland. And then I told you for Wales that the lady on TV ended up doing Welsh cakes, which kind of looked like scones done on a stovetop. So we'll be doing that one. And then finally for Scotland, we're going to be doing the cranachan. I hadn't heard of this until like Burns Night a few years ago, but it is really like a cream, double cream type bottom. It looks like yogurt, and then you top it off with toasted oatmeal and Scottish raspberries. So that one's going to be pretty light, and so we have left it for last, and we're gonna top off the cake like that. So yeah.
I've been out of my head, can't get out.
So I was actually quite pro-nation with all of these recipes. They all come from the BBC, and when possible, I got the ingredients from Marks and Spencer. So there you go.
What's a girl gotta do to catch a break-up?
Now, I don't love Britain's colonial relationship with India, but I thought it was appropriate to use this South Asian mango wood mortar and pestle to grind our digestive biscuits, just to highlight all of the work that South Asians have contributed and is still contributing to the UK.
Sunshine on my face, I'm feeling okay. Nothing's in my way. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I put a dress on.
Now, I know a lot of you are going to be snobby about this, as was I. So you have like digestive biscuits, condensed milk, marshmallows, glacé cherries, and you're like, what is going on here? But very much like an icebox cake, this was so good. I would say that this was probably the best thing out of the 4. I mean, they were all really good. And yes, this was sweet, but it was a really good, addictive kind of sweet. And so this is all that there is to this cake or to this cookie. You stick it into the fridge for a couple of hours until it firms up, and then we're going to cut it, and it is the most pretty thing.
Nothing ever stays the same. There's always room for better days. I was crying yesterday, but look at me now, 'cause I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Like I mentioned before, I think I got a little disenchanted with the Victoria sponge, so I opted to make a vanilla sponge that was gluten-free and vegan at the same time. And it's a mix of almond flour and then gluten-free flour, which makes it actually not as wet as typical gluten-free cakes, but it might be a little bit hardier than, people who are used to the normal sponge cake may like. But it is really good, and I really like it.
Too much on my brain, but got it good, can't complain. It's like I'm losing my mind, and time's hard to find.
You can see that because we put some apple cider vinegar in with the baking powder, it made the batter bubble up immediately. So make sure to have a nice warm preheated oven to stick this into 25 minutes, and you're going to get yourself a wonderful looking cake.
'Cause I was crying yesterday.
So these Welsh cakes are made from self-rising flour, which is a very British thing, because I think in America we just use normal all-purpose flour, and then we add in the baking powder ourselves. And then this last ingredient is the flax egg to bind everything together, because we had the butter and the flour, and then those were some sultanas. You can add them in if you want. But the flax egg is a bit of a vegan treat that I don't think normally goes into Welsh cakes, but it is a nice substitute for eggs, some flax seeds, and some water, and then they get nice and kind of like thickened, and then you use it that way just to bring this dough together. Now, interestingly, after World War II, I guess the UK didn't really produce, Northern Ireland did flax seeds because they were a big linen manufacturing country, but then I guess after 2009 they've stopped producing that, so this country doesn't really produce flax seeds anymore. So before I put them on the griddle, I actually stuck them in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes just because it got really soft and I wanted it to firm up and hold its shape. You should probably do this over medium heat because, mine burnt a little bit just because the induction stove is it's hard. But the other side turned out really, really well. So you'll see that afterwards. And just be careful about burning your Welsh cakes. So the Scottish cranachan is such an easy dessert. Really, it's toasting up some oatmeal until it gets nice and nutty, and then we're going to whip a vegan whip until you get to whipped cream stage. We have some raspberries that I'm going to, puree, and then also some raspberries on top. So it's just a really, really simple dessert to finish everything off. I mean, you all know me. Straining out seeds and fiber is bad for your health, so I just ended up keeping this. But essentially, you sweeten this a little bit, and then that goes in with the cream.
Bottle the night, red wine to rerun all our memories right. It's just a matter of time before your cheeks turn into peaches and the stars realign. Another glass of wine to find the diamonds in your eyes, darling. Another glass of wine, you know it's time. 3, 2, 1. We're counting shooting stars on the side of my bed, and now your lips tattooed on the side of my neck. Another glass won't kill you, right? Gladly she replies, you got me running circles inside of my head. Now we're doing everything that I wish you had said. Another glass won't kill you, right? Gladly she replies like and in the morning you awake to a happy sunny day, and you happen to lay right here with me. If history repeats, 3, 2, 1. Okay. We're counting shooting stars on the side of my bed, and now your lips tattooed on the side of my neck. Another glass won't kill you, right? Gladly she replies, you got me running circles inside of my head. Now we're doing everything that I wish you had said. Another glass won't kill you, right? Gladly she replies like
So I ended up playing with the cake a little bit more. I just wanted you all to be able to see the layers before I went all crazy. And I mean, it is a little bit ridiculous, and for sure, there's a lot on British people's minds other than the Jubilee, especially because, prices for the grocery stores are really high at the moment, and people are having a hard time, even buying food. But I don't know, this provided, I guess, a little bit of entertainment, and for me, it let me kind of go into a little bit of the history of each of the nations, and then trying out some of the cakes from everywhere, because you guys know I don't normally bake just because I don't need to be eating that many sweets, but this was a nice introduction into each of the countries, and then finding out what their specialty desserts are. So that was really fun for me.
repeats. okay. We're counting shooting stars on the side of my bed, and now your lips tattooed on the side of my neck. Another glass won't kill you, right? Gladly she replies. You got me running circles inside of my head. Now we're doing everything that I wish you had said. Another glass won't kill you.
I hope you all enjoyed the video and hope you all had a really nice weekend. And as usual, if you want to see more of this, be sure to click like and subscribe. Check out my Instagram, check out my Patreon as well, because the channel is on there. And yeah, I guess I will see you all again next time. Bye.